Welcome to episode 5 of the Dan Cloutier community. I am thrilled to be with you today. This is a show where I get the privilege to interview amazing artists of all type as we dig into the idea that art builds community and that community can help this hurting and lonely world. I think it's pretty obvious if you look around that we currently live in an age of distraction and isolation. The question is, what can we do about it? I always put my phone away when I get home from work to help me focus on what's really important and actually spend time with the people that I love. Ever since I started doing this about a year ago, I've spent so much more time with my beautiful wife and my kids, and I know for a fact that I'm making better memories with them than I did with this piece of technology. So as I put this away, I want you to know that during this show, you have my full attention. As I look at the world, I think one of the most important responses to these lonely times is human creativity and connection. Not only does art make the world a better place, but I believe that each of us is an artist with a distinct voice that needs to be heard. That's right, you are an artist. Art is also so many different things, right? It could be designing costumes, being a stagehand, singing in a church choir, making bouquets, drawing with sidewalk chalk with your kids, editing videos like my good friends here at HCAM, or so much more. You see all the people right here, right now in this studio are helping me make art. So thank you, HCAM, for being here. Thank you, Jim, who's back there editing. You guys are the best. On today's show, we have the crew of wonderful people from the Hopkinton Center for the Arts. I grew up in the town of Hopkinton, which is also where HCAM is and this show is stationed, and I was so thrilled when the Hopkinton Center for the Arts opened. But throughout the years, I've been even more impressed with what they've done within our community. They brought so much good into town, like music, visual arts, theater, dance programs, open mic classes, and so much more. So let's go talk to my friends from the Art Center, and remember, let's build a community. Well, hello, everyone. I am thrilled to be here today with the Executive Director of the Hopkinton Center for the Arts, Kelly Gills. So welcome to the Dan Cloutier community. I am so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, we have an interesting connection because we both grew up in Hopkinton. We spent a lot of time in this town. I've seen this wonderful art center. We're going to really get into this art center, how wonderful it is, how it's changed the town, how so many more people are doing art in town and stuff like that. We're going to get to that. But let's start off with you, Kelly. When did art start becoming important to you?
That's a great question. I think, because of my parents thinking that it was important to expose all of us to the arts, I started with piano lessons at, second grade. And I wish I'd stayed with that. A lot of people say I ended eighth grade. But then when I got into school, I just gravitated toward music and theater. And I think a lot of it had to do with the people.
People, yep.
It was the friends that I met and the sense of inclusion and people were so supportive and wonderful, and you just feel good when you're doing it.
And it's wonderful. And so my family, my wife is part of the Mullins family, which is a very well-known family in that town of Hopkinton. Yeah. And you were good friends with the Mullins and singing with the Mullins. They're famous singers and stuff like that.
They are famous singers and quite amazing. And yes, I was right sort of in the middle of all of them and still get to see Judy as often as I can now.
Which is really fun. That was a fun connection we were just reminiscing about. But so theater at the old Hopkinton High School, because you went when it was in middle school, right?
Yep.
We went to the same place.
We did.
And now it's just like, it was a small town when we were there.
Yes. My graduating class was 69. Was yours a little bit bigger?
My graduating class was 96. Yeah. But my sister, 7 years later, 300.
Wow.
So there was obviously the late 80s, the commuter boom in this town, right? Yep. It really went from this town of 5,000 people to the town of 17,000 now?
I think we're up to 19.
19,000. Yeah. So like a big town. Like big. If Hopkinton was in Wyoming, it would be like a big dot in Wyoming, right?
Yes,
That's a really important town.
Yeah.
All right. So you got into art and stuff like that. And you have a history with theater, right? So it's not just, you didn't just start the Hopkinton Center for the Arts. You started something called Enter Stage Left, which was one of the first kind of like artistic things that I remember seeing in this town. Do you want to tell me just kind of like, you were just telling me a little bit about the story, but I want everyone to hear the story of how did this grow? Because it's beautiful how organically it grew to how big it is now, right?
It really did. When we were in high school, really. Back then, they did a fall musical, I believe it was in the music. No, they did a fall play, and they did a spring musical. And if you were lucky enough, we also did a little bit of a one-act competition play. But in between, we were hungry for more. And so we started to write our own plays, create our own things. And we had a wonderful teacher, Ed Corneli, who agreed to, because, as kids, you can't just say, I'm going to go in the auditorium and we're going to rehearse a play. You needed a teacher there. So he said, I'll sit there and I'll correct papers. You guys do your thing. And we did. And before long, we realized it became a thing. We started to get kids to audition from other towns. We did Godspell. We did an original musical. And so we formed Enter Stage Left Theater just as an entity and branded it back in the 80s and opened a little savings account. We tried to raise some funds for things like scholarships to go to art college and money for the library, things like that. And we really, it just became sort of our training ground of what it meant to run a little community theater.
And what an amazing opportunity, because you're in high school. Right?
Yeah.
Because most high schoolers nowadays, they don't have those kind of opportunities, right?
Right.
The schools themselves do less with music and less with art and less with theater, right? Just kind of across the board, which is why the art center that you guys started is so vitally important to this community, right? But so your teacher, right?
Yeah.
Your friends, you come back eventually to Hopkinton, right?
Right. We all sort of went off and did our things. I was a professional actress for half a second and then had kids, and that was that. But we came back to the area, and one of my friends said, Dawn Anderson is her name, and she said, hey, we still have this little savings account in Middlesex Savings Bank. And I'm like, and it's like $1,500. And I was like, wow, let's go to dinner. There was still 10 of us that lived in the area. Let's go to a little harbor cruise and blow it. And she said, well, I was thinking maybe we do a play. And I said, oh, fine. So we did one, and then we did another. And then all of a sudden we realized, wow, I guess we were the only community theater in Hopkinton. And so another friend, Mary, was teaching theater, just sort of freelance. She was singing, and she actually started BACA, the Boston Association of Cabaret Artists.
Yeah.
And she was singing, she was teaching, and she said, hey, could you help me? I don't know the marketing piece. And at the time, I was running an administrative placement agency. And so I said, sure. So we literally put one flyer out, and we had 35 kids who wanted to take a theater class. So that's when we realized there's something here. And,
there's such a hunger. Yeah.
It was, yeah. And so we opened a little storefront on Main Street. It used to
I remember the storefront. It's where the barbershop
It was
now,
the
right?
barbershop. Yeah, it was a barbershop. It was it's now Blue Square Pizza. Was the side of was just one side, and we within 6 months blew the wall open. The other side, we had open mics, and we had theater productions and classes, and it just continued to snowball from there. That was around 2006, I think. And then by 2010, we had been speaking to the Cultural Arts Alliance, which was at the Terry Farm, and they really were focused on the visual arts, and we were focused on the performing arts. So it was a really great partnership. So we moved in there in 2010, and then it was 15 years ago in 2011 that we formed the Hopkins Center for the Arts.
It's amazing. So growing up in Hopkinton, where the Center for the Arts is now, growing up as a kid, it was this field. It was a big field with an old barn, right?
Yep, yeah.
And then another field, and then the tennis courts of the old high school that I used to intentionally hit the tennis balls into that field and try to go find them with my friends. But from this space, now that Hopkinton's grown, now there's a huge high school, like another school behind it, and having this art center right in the heart of all the education. I just love it so much.
It couldn't be a more perfect location.
It's like a perfect location.
It really is to be in, and that was part of the thought process when we designed what we wanted to do there, because kids can walk from school.
And they not just that, but they see it every day. They know it's there.
Yeah.
Because so many kids, because the kids who need, I think everyone needs art, right? But if you're doing sports and you got your people, you're going to be okay-ish. There's so many kids who aren't, right? I was one of the kids who wasn't. I need music, right? That's what my dive into music was. My friends did music, and now we had a connection. I had a friend circle finally for the first time, and I felt connected. And my music helped me do this, and then eventually down the road became more serious. But the importance of having this ability for kids to know that there's a place to go if they're maybe a little bit different, right?
It's critical.
It's critical.
It's critical. We hear it over and over and over again. They find their home. They find their people, and that's what I found when I was a kid. I had definitely had 2 left feet and was not happy and could not participate the way that I wanted to in sports. And to find people like me, to find that this brought me so much joy and connection. That's really what it's all about. And we hear that every day. We hear that from parents that come that say, the first time their child has participated, whether it's a theater, music. We have a wonderful choir now. We have, it really has been, and as you said, it's not just kids. What's really been astounding, I think, since the pandemic, is we're seeing all these adults come back to the arts who had done it in high school or had done it once before. And it's like, you know what? I used to take piano lessons, or I was a potter and I'd like to try pottery and they're finding community. They're finding friendships, social group that really is what the art is almost secondary to this sense of belonging that they have around whatever art they're expressing themselves in.
Which is really like when I was talking to HCAM about doing a show, and originally it could have been any kind of thing, but I really wanted to be focused on this idea of building community, because when you look at the world and you see it, and you feel it in myself, like the devices that we have some good elements, but they're isolating. The entertainment we have is isolating. Like, we are being entertained and we're not being participants, right? So let's go really into like the Art Center now, because as people here in Art Center, they're like, oh, they probably do theater and they probably have concerts, right?
Yep.
That is not what you guys are doing that.
Sure.
You're doing that really well. But like I've read online 2,000 classes a year.
Yeah. Well, we have about 3,000 students, maybe growing.
3,000 students.
Yeah. We have 30,000 visitors that come through our doors. So that would be students. It's people coming to a concert or a play. But then we have events. We have, Pride celebration. We've had our summer concert series. We have our art exhibitions. So we're getting better at counting. We for a while, it's like, well, people just come, which is lovely. They're just coming because they want to check it out, or they had a friend who said they had a good experience there. And so people will come through to see the art that's displayed, or just to learn about how maybe their organization or their friend group can get involved, or they can get involved themselves. So it's been pretty remarkable to see it go from a relatively small organization to that level of visitors that come through, and that level of connection. We also pulled stats recently to show that we see visitors from over 300 communities in Massachusetts, over 18 states, and 5 countries.
That's amazing. So let's go into like what's actually offered, because there's a lot. There's a lot. Right. So and after we're done talking, I'm going to talk to 2 other people who work at the HCA open mic host. Right. So there's a singer-songwriter / poetry open mic. I'm going to talk to Ethan, who does the tech and does a lot of things. I know that there's visual art, because there's a beautiful gallery. I know that you guys do all sorts of different community events, because I know there's poetry stuff. There's other kind of like, there's like a what was that open mic that I was involved with like a couple months ago? Yeah,
the Artful Connection series. Yeah.
Just the idea that art connects to community and stuff like that. You do lessons, right? Because you have the building attached to it, doing all sorts of musical, piano, guitar. I see kids walking with guitars all the time. Kids walking with all sorts of stuff. There's so much inclusivity, right? So I work at the Respite Center in town, and the Respite Center has a wonderful relationship with the Hopkinton Center for the Arts. We send students there a couple times a year for really advanced art classes, whether it be with pottery, because we don't have the ability to do that level of pottery at the center. But then sometimes trained, painters come and teach, right? And then we do a big coffee house. I'm going to talk to Ethan about that, because Ethan helps with the coffee house. But this is tremendous stuff. Summer's music series. What else am I missing? I'm missing a lot of things.
So the education piece, which is the largest piece of what we do, is ceramics, as you said, visual art, music, theater, and dance. We have a whole
lots of dance. That's right. My next door neighbor, I live in Upton, and she was involved with your the big play in Christmas, right?
Oh, nice. Like, yes, the Nutcracker.
The Nutcracker. I can't remember the play. The Nutcracker. But just like every level of art, right?
Yeah, and that's what sort of happened. And I think when we first started out, I was a theater kid, so I was just thinking about theater, and then I was meeting all these artists, and they would say, hey, I do this. Would you consider? And we just said yes. We just said, we'll figure it out. And so art sort of begets art, like as you start doing things. And what's wonderful are some of the cross events and things that we do. So, if we have a theater production of Willy Wonka, then the art department might want to make the big candies, so people like to get involved and work and collaborate together. And it is a unique model, and it wasn't always easy to sort of figure it out, but somehow artists figure it out.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So 15 years, this beautiful art center has been in town. So, and it's benefiting the community in countless ways. I mean, again, like if just one kid in high school just found people that they needed, right?
Exactly.
Because their trajectory could go from like a really dark trajectory to like all of a sudden they're okay. You know? Just so amazing that we have this opportunity, this unique resource in town. So how can this town, community, Hopkinton, but the surrounding towns too, and everyone who's affected, how can we help you guys? Like, what do you guys need?
Yeah, well, we need volunteers. Always need volunteers. You know, a nonprofit can't exist without that. And
I volunteered a long time hosting open mics. We're going to talk about open mics next. But like, when you volunteer at an art center, I can just speak for myself that like, if you're feeling lonely and you're feeling like you're disconnected, go volunteer at an art center because that's how you're going to get your people. You're going to build community. That's how you're going to meet your friends who are going to help you get through some dark times of life, right?
Yes, exactly.
So volunteers.
So volunteers, we need people to, believe it or not, continue to spread the word about what we do and connect us. We're looking for performers and students and teachers. Even we're continue to expand in all the different departments that we have. A lot of it is about spreading the word and maybe opening our minds to other things. So as we continue to grow, we've had to get more space. We did move our ceramics and dance program to 34 Hayden Row. And those programs are growing, and we're now going to be partnering with partnering with the town to renovate Center School for still additional space to happen.
We both went to school at Center School.
We did. And that's one of the things people can help with is I want to hear Center School stories. I remember my stories of my 3 years there, and there were teachers certainly that influenced me. I don't know if you had Mrs. Brown actually was my first grade teacher.
Oh, my sister I had Mrs. Brown.
Yeah, she was an opera singer.
She was lovely.
Yes, and there were definitely Mrs. Campbell was a music teacher. There was like so many wonderful. Mr. Markarian, of course, he was more up at the high school, but was a legend, around that time. So as we, looking in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to look to honor some of those people and the great work that they did, but to create yet another space that not only can be a gathering space, an art space, a community space, but a visitor center for people who are visiting Hopkinton to say, here's what's special about this community. So it's all of those things are really vital to what we do.
I love that so much. And I just encourage everyone, if you're feeling lonely or if you're going through something like come to a show. Because when you put yourself in a room with other people, right, watching something, you're having a shared experience. If you're just sitting on your couch or on your phone, like that is an isolating, lonely thing that's eventually going to make you more lonely over time.
It is so true.
And if you go to a theater, like a concert or a theater presentation at the HCA, you're going to remember that night, and you're going to be around people having the same experience. And that's what we need in this society at this time of isolation and loneliness. What the people doing at the art center are just like it's almost like the people on the front line, warriors, it's like this epidemic of loneliness. So, like Kelly, I'm so grateful for what you do. The town is so grateful for what you do. Thank you so much for coming on my show and just talking about everything. I'm going to ask your two friends after this, but I always like to ask if you could you're stuck on the desert island. This has nothing to do with the art center. This is the question that I like. Stuck on the desert island, 3 musical acts, complete discographies or all their music. Like what 3 musicians are you sitting with on the desert island for
musicians? Yeah. All right. So number 1's James Taylor. I am just an enormous.
My dad, 100%. James Taylor would have been one.
James Taylor fan. I could listen all day.
I love James Taylor too. That's not just I like him too, but my dad. James Taylor.
James Taylor's it. And honestly, some of the B cuts are the ones are some of my favorites. I probably So I'm absolutely a musical theater kid. So it would probably be like a Barbra Streisand or Bernadette Peters as well, just to keep that going.
Yeah, of course.
And then I think of somebody like Brandi Carlile. I just think she's just such a wonderful storyteller, soulful.
Her book was one of my favorite books by a musician. I thought her book, The Horses book, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just amazing. And
amazing.
Just everything. I love what she's doing with Joni Mitchell, like all the things.
I know.
John.
For her to like heal, like bring Joni Mitchell back to us. What a gift.
She's a special soul. Yeah.
Special. Kelly, you're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
up next, we're going to get some more friends from the HCA.
That's great. We love them.
Welcome back, everybody. I am thrilled to be here today with Ethan and Rachel. They are two employees at the HCA, and we're going to get into that about what that's like, why that's important, stuff like that. But first of all, Rachel, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do at the HCA.
Right now at the HCA, I host and sort of help organize the open mic series, which is on Fridays. And, if they need a little extra hand here with something, I'll happily pitch in. But that's my main gig.
And then you also, for many years, was helping with theater too, right?
Yes, for many years I helped at the HCA with the music and the theater departments. I've music directed some shows there. I've been in some shows there.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to get to open mics because people who know me know I'm obsessed with open mics. I think they're the best thing in the world. But I know Ethan. I've met Ethan before because Ethan is a great sound engineer, tech guy. Is that the main tech guy at the HCA?
Indeed. Yeah, I'm the technical director at the HCA.
Which is awesome. And Ethan has helped us. So one of the things that I've done is that I've had the Respite Center where I work in town. We do an annual coffee house at the HCA. And Ethan's been our sound guy the past couple of years, and he's so amazing at sound because that's one of the more difficult technical gigs of the year because we have about 30 different people who come up on stage with different levels of monitors.
Indeed, yeah. No, it's I love the coffee houses. They're like one of the most fulfilling events that I get to work.
Oh, me too. It's the best.
They're a blast. So.
It's the best. And I think at the heart of one of the reasons why I wanted the HCA to come on in here and talk to the whole team is just that I've seen the HCA just done amazing things for the Respite Center. Right? Art classes and the coffee houses, but just how inclusive the whole environment is. We're going to get more to that. But all right, so let's get into a little personal questions. I want to hear some history because one of the things that this show is all about is how does art help us personally? Like how has it made a difference in our lives? So Ethan, start with you. When you were like, what's your first memory of like awesome music or art or something just being like, this is really important. This is how I'm going to go with my life. Because I know that you also studied music in college. So
I did. Yeah. So college was actually, I don't think we can really count like piano lessons when I was 4. That lasted 6 months,
Well, if piano lessons at 4, you're like, this is my life.
I don't know. Maybe there's a huge gap between that and when I actually got serious about music. But I'd say that as far as most musicians, I got into it pretty late. I did get started in college. My foray into music was not on the technical side; it was in the performance side, and I always knew I had like a desire to perform, and I actually got started with an a cappella group in college, the Clark Keys. That was my first exposure to being a part of performance, and it sort of snowballed from there.
It's amazing. Well, one of the first things when Rachel and Ethan came in, we were just talking beforehand. Rachel and me just said, Ethan has an amazing voice. You should hear him sing someday. Yeah. And I didn't know that because I've just seen you on the technical side, which is great.
Well, I'm going to be performing this Thursday actually with Rachel for Stories and Songs.
All right, the show won't be out by then, but you got to tell me some more about this. So what's going on with this?
Yeah. So I believe this is the second one we've done, but essentially it is it's a series of little anecdotes from people who are tied into the Boston Marathon and some really inspiring and uplifting stories from people who have overcome hardships because that's what the marathon is all about.
What it's all about.
And each person who gets to tell a story also picks a song, which is then performed live. By Hot Acoustics, the local legends, and a few other performers thrown in, like Rachel and I. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's
that's
great.
So cool. So that's happening this week because this will probably be out, at the end of April or something like that. The marathon might have already happened, but so is this happening like one time or is this happening throughout?
It's a once a year event.
Once a year event.
So if you miss this one, be sure to catch the next one next year.
Fantastic. So was there like a band that got you into it? So why did you start singing a cappella? Just was it friends?
Because I don't know. I think it just seemed really accessible to me. I wasn't very. I knew I had a strong music bone, but I wasn't very proficient at any instruments. So I think that was what made it so appealing to me was the low bar for entry. Is all you have to do is have a voice, and be able to work with other people. and that's what got me started.
I love that. I love that trajectory. Like you start singing, you know you can sing, you join a group of people, you're singing together. I'm sure you become good friends.
Yes.
Like, are you still like best friends with some of these people?
Oh my gosh, yeah. One of my best friends, Emily Vincent, who I've known now for almost a decade. I met through the Clarkies.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So like one of my best friends who I met at the open mic that I hosted, because we're about to get to open mics, because I hosted an open mic for 15 years in Framingham and then in Somerville at the Burn. One of my best friends was, her name's Kim, and she did a cappella in college, and she's still like best friends with those people.
Yeah.
Because part of the thing what the HCA does, and that I've seen in this community, is that you just the allowance of the ability of people to come together, right, and do something together. And art's a really good thing to do together. But then you build those relationships to get you through, the other part of the other side of life. When life takes its difficult little turns.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have a personal story about how that. Like exactly what you just said.
Yes,
but there's a couple who have been participants at the HCA for a while. Their names are Bob and Sue. And they are sort of everyone's parents in a way.
Yeah.
They're the sweetest people ever. And we met through doing art at the HCA. There was a point where my girlfriend's apartment flooded. We were kicked out and we didn't really have anywhere to go. We had no timeline for when we'd be able to move back in or if we were able to move back in. And Bob and Sue reached out and offered to let us stay in at their place.
Yeah,
and we ended up for 3 months, and they were like, we didn't even notice you were here. They're the sweetest about it. So and we all connected through production at the HCA, which is really
great.
cool.
Those are the stories. That's
It's such a beautiful community. It's so heartwarming. Just
love that. That's such a great story.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's something that a long time ago, like maybe the church would have done, right? But there's who aren't attached to something like that, right? Yeah. And it's just to have something that people don't have to feel like that religious pressure to.
Right.
And I grew up as a pastor's kid, so I'm fine. I love that kind of stuff. But to have the ability for everyone's welcome, no matter what background, and just being or religious affiliation, to have an art center that's accessible to the whole town. Yeah. So let's get to open mics though.
Yeah.
Because I love open mics, and I think the idea of open mics, the ability to have somebody be a beginner from any level come on in to perform a song or recite a poem or show off a piece of art. So you've been doing this for a year.
Yep.
So tell me about what's going on. Tell us really specifically so people can know how to find out information about the open mic, and then tell me a little bit about how you run it and stuff like that.
Sure. So the open mic happens on one Friday a month. You can find the exact date and time on the HCA's website, which is hopartcenter.org. You could also just call and someone at the desk can let you know. You are welcome to sign up online. That if you click on the event and more info, there's a sign up thing. And if your speed is just to walk on in, then just walk on in. No pressure. You don't have to do anything ahead of time. And then usually doors open about half an hour before the show starts so people can get settled, get a table, get a drink. There's usually a cash bar. And it's a good old time. As far as how it's run, when folks get there, they're going to sign up on a kiosk about their act, their technical needs. So Ethan and I can coordinate how to figure out.
It's high tech. That's higher tech than when I used to run it.
It's a Google Sheet. It's not,
Well, Google Sheet's better than we used to do sheet.
Sure,
sheet.
Sure. We try to finagle a little bit of a set list, vary it up.
Is it a random draw? Or do people sign up for specific time slots?
It's a little bit random draw. I do the randoming.
You do the randoming?
The randoming.
Yeah, I try to make sure it's not if I recognize the material, it's not all ballads in a row or.
That's smart. That's smart. I used to always do something when I hosted, if you were last a couple weeks in a row, then you can ask me first.
Yeah.
Right? So just be able to move around so you can feel like but you also have those people who come in and be like, I need to be first every week. And you're like, well, we have to be flexible.
Yeah, we do our best to certainly accommodate any needs. If there are younger attendees, we certainly try to let them go early because it could be a late night.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. We come, we play. We have people of all different backgrounds. We have musicians. We've certainly had poets or people that do spoken word. We've had people do comedy.
Yeah.
It's very unique and it's very fun.
It's super fun. And so hosting for all those years, the most powerful thing I've ever done in music, and I've been a musician for obviously for a long time, but doing it pretty seriously since the early 2000s. But running the open mic was by far the most important thing that I've ever done because of the friendships that I've made, but also just all of a sudden allowing a space to have like, so one of my dear friends, his name was Mike, he came for 2 months because we used to be every Thursday night. The one that I hosted, he came for 2 months without playing. And eventually, and he was in his 50s, and I'm like, hey, so do you play? And he's like, yeah, but I'm just checking out. He's so nervous. And then when he finally got up there and to play, he, you could tell he was shaking and stuff like that. It went like that. But then he came back the next week, and 3 or 4 years down the line, he was like really good, right? Yeah. And he had this, and he developed this community of friendship around him that he didn't have before. And he unfortunately he passed, but in his will, he willed me this guitar that he found. That because he brought to the open mic that I was talking about one time, and it's just kind of like when you think about what's the purpose of art and how is it supposed to help people and help community, right? Because there's that Star Search level. Like when I first started hosting, I was all about the idea of like, hey, I'm a up and coming singer songwriter, right? And I want to have like this is like my stepping stone to the next thing, right? Yeah. But in the end, that was the thing. My stepping stone was to this. Being this host, right? To being this person who was able to bring people together and stuff like that. So I just think it's awesome that it's here in Hopkinton, right? Right. Because I grew up in Hopkinton. We just talked to Kelly, and we talked a lot about Hopkinton. But Hopkinton is really important to me. But for Hopkinton to be the center of this place, that's really just doing all these unique things around from all the surrounding towns. Like I know that I live in Upton now, but they're talking about starting a little bit of a community center and stuff like that too. And just this kind of snowball effect that art can have and what's needed and stuff like that, which is really powerful. So Rachel, a little bit more about you before we ask some of the final questions. So you grew up you said at one point classically trained, right?
Yeah, technically I was classically trained. I was a little kid who wouldn't shut up when they were little. I would just sing anything at any point during the day.
It's
and
great.
You have your younger siblings being like, be quiet. That was me. I was the annoying one. But no, I got into piano lessons and chorus and show choir and band and orchestra. I did all that growing up. Went to school for classical music and then realized that I much preferred the weird musical theater people.
Yeah.
And I at UMass Amherst was able to cross over to the theater department and also the student-run theater department. And I did a lot of music directing with the skills and piano I had. Learned how to conduct a little bit. And I then went to grad school for voice science and musical theater performance.
And you teach now, right?
I teach now. Yeah. Teach piano, teach voice, and music direct for theater, any level.
That's fantastic. So you must see situations because both my kids. So I have guitars all over the house and banjos and stuff like that. But I never wanted to push my kids hard into it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, but my son just started taking guitar lessons because he fell in love with a band, which is exactly what I wanted, right? Maybe I forced my daughter more to do it. She takes piano lessons like that. But these people are just really important. Like their piano teachers, their guitar teachers are just really important. So, anyways, I commend you for being a music teacher. It's a really important thing in this world.
I agree. I think that I learned how to be a good human from my music teachers, even if I learned nothing about music, which I clearly did. But they teach you how to operate as an entity in a world that is not just about you. You have to learn to collaborate, whether that's musically or just as a human being. So I don't know. Huge credit to my music teachers.
Yeah, and the collaboration is huge, right? Isn't that a huge thing? You're so it's not a lot of that in the current world, and music or art just forces you to do that, which I think is really, really cool.
Hear, hear.
All right, so one last question before I ask my desert island question. I ask everybody. Where do you see the HCA just really excelling in the community? Is there any you just told an amazing story about yourself, a personal story, but do you see like an up and coming event that you just think this is amazing, it's really helping the community? Because I sure see it at the Respite Center. So where I work at the Respite Center, we bring in, we do special art classes throughout the year. We do the coffee house. We just did a huge art show, right? Mm-hmm. To have all these individuals with different kinds of disabilities come in and have their own art displayed throughout the center.
Right.
And to bring in their family, and the place was packed. Yeah. And it was a huge deal,
I think that's such a hard question to answer because it's such a huge deal to each of the artist communities that we serve. Because I feel like while we are one big community, we have smaller communities in us, whether that's the ceramics community or the respite community or the theater kids. And I think that somehow the HCA holds that special place for all of them. And it's so hard for me to sit back as an onlooker and identify this is it, That's I think that might be an impossible question.
Well, that's good. That's awesome. But one of the things that my original plan was to interview everyone separately. So I was going to interview
Sure.
just you, Rachel, and you, Ethan. But before we started, they mentioned that like we just like to do everything together. It's just like, and this is a beautiful thing because you guys aren't necessarily in the same function, like tech and open mic host and theater person. Like, but to be able to be like, it just seems like every time I'm there, that people are so connected and that community is really being built. So, anyways, just kudos. Thank you for being here and doing what you guys are doing.
Thank you
It's an
for
amazing
having us.
job. All right, last question, which I ask everybody. Desert island musicians. And this is just a random question. So you're stuck on the desert island.
Yep.
You can have 3. Let's start with 3. You have 3 complete catalogs of musicians.
Holy moly. Okay.
We talked a little bit. I told this before, so I wasn't just completely cold. So
you wanna go
who's
first?
going to go first?
I got this.
Okay.
The first thing that, when you mentioned this previously to us, that popped into my head was Regina Spektor. And I'm going to go with that as the catalog that I love. I love that she's a singer-songwriter. She plays a couple instruments, but it's piano-based. I feel like the melodies wash over you. The text is poetic, and it's intricate, and it's meaningful, and it's political.
Regina's the best. We mentioned this off camera, but like I saw Regina Spektor at an open mic back in 2002, which is
cool.
the coolest open mic experience I've ever had of 20 years of it. She was the best.
I'm envious. Yeah. She's an amazing performer, and she is who she is, and I immensely respect that.
We moved to Ethan. Ethan, you got one?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I got at least a couple. First one's definitely going to be Radiohead.
Radiohead.
Yeah, because several of his albums, most of them, I think I can listen front to back, no problem. And as time goes on, their stuff gets it changes.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's a great band.
Yeah,
I'm a big Radiohead fan. I'm right on board.
So I'm definitely.
Are you an OK Computer, Kid A, the Benz era? Where are you at?
Yeah,
the whole thing.
Yes. My 3 favorite
In
albums
Rainbows?
are definitely In Rainbows. OK Computer and the Benz.
Nice.
Kid A is really good as well, but I definitely stick to those
awesome.
3 albums most of the time.
That's very cool.
Also, I think Gorillaz would be another one.
Gorillas are really great.
Yeah, because talk about varied, like every project that they put out is a new genre.
Well, maybe if you just say like the lead singer, the Damien, you could
the lead singer,
if you just
the
claim
guy
him, you
from
could get
Rush.
Blur too.
Oh, from Blur, yeah.
You could
What's
get
his name?
multiple.
Damon Albarn, yeah.
David,
Yeah, true.
Very cool.
And then I don't know.
Anything else?
I have 2 more. One would probably be Sarah Bareilles.
Oh,
But specifically, I like her sophomore album. Not gonna lie, I don't remember the name. It might be Kaleidoscope Heart or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think she is a lyricist. She's a lyricist. I think she's incredible. I like her way with words. She's another singer-songwriter. You can tell what I like. And then my third would be Hazel Scott. Hazel Scott is an old jazz pianist, but one of the only women that I know that was that incredible and proficient and melodic and beautiful. Incredible artist. If people haven't listened to her, please check out Hazel Scott.
Hazel Scott? I gotta check her out.
Piano, beautiful jazz piano. I've seen on how when you're scrolling things come up. I've seen her playing 2 pianos at once, and she could direct her own band, and she did. She definitely fled the U.S. for political reasons in the 50s, and was one of those. But
awesome.
amazing. Check her out.
Awesome, guys. You guys are the best. Anything? Any last band?
Yes.
One last band? You owe me one more band.
Oh
Ethan.
man, I don't know if this. I'm tempted to say Slipknot, honestly.
Hey.
Just for the catharsis.
I know, if you're stuck on a desert island.
I want to get some feelings out.
That's
So.
fair.
Yeah, maybe Slipknot.
Oh, I kind of have a metal side too, so there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that.
Very
No shame in that. Well, thank you guys so much for being here and doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, this has
Keep
been
doing
great.
what you're doing.
All right.
I love this.
Thanks again for joining us on the Dan Cloutier community. I hope you were inspired by our conversation to make something new this week. Please put down your phone, get off your couch. The world would be a better place if we all make art together. The Hopkinton Center for the Arts is doing just amazing things in our local community, and I was so thrilled that they joined me today. Please go to their website at hopartcenter.org to learn more about classes, programs, and much more. Places like the HCA can only exist with community support, so I implore everyone to support their mission. The shows and classes they put on are just amazing. This show is put on for free by me and HCAM, and we're going to do all that we can to keep it that way. If you like what you heard and you want to support this mission, please visit my own personal website at dancloutier.com, or you can find me on all streaming platforms. Please reach out if you are ever interested in sponsoring part of the show or have any other interesting ideas. To end today's show, I'm going to play my song, Build It Up. It's a song about how art builds community, and I hope you enjoy it. This guitar, it is a flamethrower against the darkness. This guitar is crafted beautifully, just like you and me. This guitar, it is a shield against the loneliness. You see, this guitar, it is a builder of community. That's right. It builds it up, it builds it, it builds it up, it builds it. Go. The simple song, it is a blanket against anguish. This simple song, it beckons in the year of Jubilee. This simple song, it crosses the divide of language. This simple song, it is a builder of community. Yeah, it builds it up, it builds it, it builds it up, it builds it. Let's go. These three chords, they can be a chainsaw against your sorrow. These three chords, they are a call for more unity. These three chords, anyone in the whole world can borrow. It's just an F chord, a C chord, and a G chord. Because these three chords, they are a builder of community. Yeah. They build it up, they build it, they build it up, they build it. So thank you again, everyone, for joining me today. And remember, let's go out there, let's build a community. None of us have real control. You can't just snap and make it go away.